Their assigned quarters were in the diplomatic residence section of the station. The rooms were meant for 2 people, with separate bedrooms and a common area for meals and conversation. When they arrived, Kron immediately went to the smaller bedroom. "This one is mine," she said, not asking. Marcus looked at both rooms. They were exactly the same size. "They are both equal. You can have whichever one you want." Kron stopped and turned around. "You are not going to take the bigger space?" "There is no bigger space," Marcus pointed out. She studied him carefully, like she was trying to solve a puzzle. "Most other species make Rockthar take servant quarters, even in partnership programs." "Well, I am human," Marcus said. "We have different ideas." Over the next few days, they settled into a routine. Each morning, they attended diplomatic briefings together. Each afternoon, they were supposed to do cultural exchange activities. Each evening, they had free time. The problem was that nobody else wanted to include them. The first social gathering was a garden party hosted by the Silvari delegation. The invitation came on expensive crystal paper. It said Marcus Chen and guest, not Marcus Chen and Kraan, just guest. "You should go without me," Kraan said when she saw it. "You will make better connections." "We are partners," Marcus replied. "We go together or not at all." They went together. The moment they walked into the beautiful garden with its floating flowers and singing fountains, the conversation stopped. Aliens stared. Then they slowly turned back to their own groups, excluding the human and the Rockthar. Lady Shivara, the graceful Silvari who had been selected first at the ceremony, glided over. "Marcus Chen," she said sweetly, "how brave of you to bring your partner. Though perhaps she would be more comfortable in the service area. I am sure our staff would make her welcome." Kron's jaw tightened, but she said nothing. Marcus smiled politely. "Kron has the highest education degree from Imperial University. I think she is comfortable anywhere intelligent conversation is happening. Are you having intelligent conversation here?" Lady Shivara's smile froze. She glided away without another word. They left the party early. As they walked back, Marcus felt angry. "They are idiots, all of them." "They are the galactic elite," Crayon corrected. "I am used to this treatment." "That does not make it right." Crayon stopped walking and looked at him. "Why do you care? You barely know me. You could have chosen anyone. You could have made important friends. Instead, you chose mockery and isolation. Why?" Marcus thought about how to explain. "On Earth, there was a time when people with my skin color were treated as less than others. My great-great-grandfather could not eat in the same restaurants as lighter-skinned people. People said terrible things about his intelligence, his worth, his humanity. But none of it was true. It was just prejudice." He met her eyes. "When I saw you standing in the back of that hall with your university honors and your dignity, being treated like you were nothing, I saw my great-great-grandfather. I saw every person ever judged by what they looked like instead of who they were. I could not walk past you. I would not." Kron was quiet for a long moment. "Your great-great-grandfather. Did things get better for his people?" "Eventually. After a lot of struggle and pain. But yes. My people have been struggling for 300 years, Kron said softly. Ever since the Zenthari conquered our homeworld. We were warriors and poets once. We had art and philosophy. Then we lost a war, and now we are just strong backs for hire. Nobody remembers what we were. Tell me, Marcus said. Teach me about your people. The real history, not what the Empire says. So she did. That evening, in their quarters, Kron told him about the Rockthar Empire that existed before the conquest. She described their fighting traditions, which were as much about honor and self-control as about strength. She recited poetry in her language, deep and rhythmic like drums. She showed him pictures from old archives of Rockthar architecture, massive and beautiful. Marcus listened carefully to everything. He asked questions. He took notes. In return, he shared human culture with her. He played music from Earth, everything from classical symphonies to rock and roll. He read her Shakespeare and Tagore and Rumi. He showed her human paintings and sculptures. "Your species is very emotional," Kron observed, listening to a Beethoven symphony. "Is that bad?" Marcus asked. "No, just different. Rockthar are taught to be controlled, to show no weakness. But this music," she paused, "it makes me feel things I usually keep buried." "Maybe that is not a weakness," Marcus suggested. "Maybe that is strength, too." Their partnership began to develop into real friendship. In the mornings, Crayon taught Marcus combat forms from her people's traditions. He was terrible at first, too small and too slow, but she was a patient teacher, and he learned. In the afternoons, Marcus taught Crayon about human diplomatic tactics and negotiation strategies. She was a brilliant student, quickly understanding complex political situations. Other diplomats continued to exclude them. More invitations came addressed to Marcus Chen and guest. Marcus refused every single one unless Kron was properly named. Ambassador Velcor, the Zenthari who had mocked them at the ceremony, confronted Marcus one day in the station corridors. "You are making a mistake, human," Velcor said. "You isolate yourself for a Rockthar? They are laborers, nothing more. You could have had real influence." "I have a partner who graduated top of her class," Marcus replied calmly. "I have someone who teaches me about honor and history. What do you have? People who only spend time with you because of your title?" Velcor's face showed anger, but he said nothing more and walked away. That evening, an emergency alert sounded through the station. All diplomats were summoned to the main briefing room. Marcus and Crayon rushed there together. The station commander, a military officer with 4 arms and gray skin, stood at the front of the room. His face was serious. "We have a situation," he announced. "Colony Station Theta 9 has sent a distress signal. Pirates have breached their defenses and are attacking. All ships in the area are too far away to help immediately. However, representatives from this station are currently visiting Theta 9 for a cultural tour." The screen behind him showed a list of names. Marcus recognized several of them: Lady Shivara, Prince Toravan, other diplomats from the selection ceremony. "A rescue ship is being prepared," the commander continued, "but it will take 6 hours to reach them. The pirates may not wait that long." "Send military forces," someone called out. "The nearest military vessel is 8 hours away," the commander said. "The rescue ship is the fastest option we have." Marcus looked at Crayon. She looked back at him. They both thought the same thing. "Commander," Marcus spoke up, "what if we went ahead on a fast shuttle? A small team could get there faster than a big rescue ship." The commander frowned. "That would be dangerous. Pirates are not kind to those they capture." "But we could get there in 4 hours?" Marcus pressed. "Maybe 3.5 if we push the engines. But I cannot order diplomats into danger." "You are not ordering," Kron said, standing up. Her voice carried through the room. "We are volunteering." The other aliens in the room stared. Some looked shocked. Others looked skeptical. "A human and a Rockthar against pirates?" Someone laughed. "This should be interesting." The commander studied them both. "Can you fight?" "She can," Marcus said, nodding to Kron. "And I can think. Between us, we might help until the real rescue arrives." The commander made a decision. "Take Shuttle Bay 3. I will assign you a pilot, but this is not an order. This is completely voluntary." "We understand," Marcus and Crayon said together. As they left to prepare, Marcus heard whispers behind them. "The human is a fool. They will both die. At least we will be rid of the embarrassment." Marcus ignored them all. Beside him, Crayon walked with her head high and her shoulders back. For the first time since he had met her, she looked truly alive. The shuttle ride to Colony Station Theta 9 took 3 hours and 42 minutes. Marcus spent the time studying the station's layout on his datapad. Crayon sat across from him, very still, her eyes closed. She looked like she was sleeping, but Marcus knew better. She was preparing herself mentally, the way warriors did before battle. Their pilot, a young Zenthari named Kiv, kept glancing back at them nervously. "You know," he said, "pirates are usually armed with military-grade weapons. They kill first and ask questions later." "We know," Marcus said without looking up from his pad. "And you are just a human. And she is—" Kiv stopped himself. "A rock-thar who can break your arms like dry sticks," Crayon said without opening her eyes. "Finish your sentence." Kiv went quiet and focused on flying. When they arrived at Theta 9, the situation was worse than expected. The station's outer shields were down. Scorch marks showed where weapons had hit the hull. Several windows were shattered, covered with emergency force fields. "Life support is still working," Kiv reported, checking his instruments. "But the main power is at 30%. Communications are completely dead." "Can you dock?" Marcus asked. "There is an emergency docking port on the lower level. It should still work." Kiv maneuvered the shuttle carefully, avoiding floating debris. They docked with a metal clang that echoed through the shuttle. Kron stood up, rolling her massive shoulders. She had changed into simple combat clothes, tight and flexible. Her people did not need armor, she had explained. Their skin was tough enough. Marcus had no such advantages. He wore a standard environmental suit, just in case life support failed in some areas. "Stay with the shuttle," Marcus told Kiv. "If we are not back in 2 hours, leave and get help." "I am not abandoning you," Kiv protested. "You are our way out," Kron said firmly. "We need you safe. Understand?" Kiv nodded reluctantly. The docking port opened with a hiss. The station beyond was dark except for emergency lighting. Red lights flashed in the corridors, painting everything in blood-colored shadows. They moved quietly through the halls. Marcus checked his pad, which showed a basic map. The diplomats were touring the observation level when the attack started. That is on level 12. "Long way up," Kron noted. They found the first bodies near a lift shaft. 2 station workers, killed by energy weapons. Marcus felt sick, but Kron knelt and checked them professionally. "Dead for maybe 2 hours," she said quietly. "The pirates have been here a while." "How many do you think?" Marcus asked. Crayon examined the scorch marks on the walls. "Small ship, probably. Maybe 8 to 12 raiders. Enough to overwhelm station security, but not a full military assault." They continued upward, using maintenance stairs instead of the lifts. Marcus's legs burned by level 6, but Crayon barely seemed to notice the climb. On level 9, they heard voices. Crayon held up a hand, signaling Marcus to stop. They peered around a corner carefully. 3 pirates, all members of different species, stood guard at a corridor intersection. They wore mismatched armor and carried heavy rifles. They looked bored and confident. Marcus studied the area. The corridor was long and straight, with no cover. A direct fight would be suicide. But there was a maintenance shaft nearby, and the ceiling panels looked loose. He tapped Kron's shoulder and pointed. She looked, understood immediately, and nodded. Silently, they backtracked to the maintenance shaft. It was narrow, barely big enough for Marcus. For Crayon, it was almost impossible. But she squeezed through, her muscles flexing as she forced herself into the tight space. They crawled through the ceiling space above the pirates. The metal was old and creaked softly. Marcus held his breath every time it made noise, but the pirates below did not look up. When they were directly over the guards, Marcus pointed to himself, then to a junction box on the wall ahead. Kron understood the plan. Marcus crawled forward until he could reach the junction box. He opened it carefully and found what he hoped for: the lighting controls for this section. He waited until Kran was in position directly above the pirates. Then he cut the power. The corridor went completely black. The pirates shouted in surprise. In the darkness, Kran dropped through the ceiling panel like a stone. Marcus heard the sounds of impact, grunts of pain, a weapon clattering to the floor. It lasted maybe 10 seconds. When Marcus restored the power, all 3 pirates were unconscious on the floor. Kraan stood over them, breathing hard but unhurt. She had moved so fast in the darkness that they never had a chance. "Nice work," Marcus said, climbing down. They took the pirates' weapons and communication devices, then tied them up with cable from the maintenance shaft. From the stolen communicator, they heard voices. The pirates were spread throughout the station, looking for valuables, but most of them were concentrated on level 12, where they had found the rich ones, the diplomats. Marcus and Kran reached level 12 through another maintenance route. They emerged in a storage room near the observation deck. Through a window in the door, they could see the situation. The observation deck was a large room with huge windows showing the stars outside. About 15 diplomats were huddled in the center of the room, including Lady Shivara and Prince Torvan. Ambassador Velcor was there too, his face pale with fear. 5 pirates surrounded them, weapons pointed at the frightened diplomats. The pirate leader, a massive creature with 6 arms and thick armor, was going through the diplomats' belongings, taking jewelry and data chips. "We need a plan," Crayon whispered. 5 armed targets, open room, civilians in the crossfire. Marcus thought quickly. "The observation windows. They are reinforced, but the emergency release is manual. If we trigger it, the emergency shields will come down to protect against vacuum," Crayon finished. "Everything loose in the room will be pulled toward the windows. Chaos! Can you reach the manual release without being seen?" Crayon studied the room layout. There was a maintenance catwalk above the observation deck, used by workers to clean the massive windows. The release switch was up there. "Yes," she said, "but you will need to create a distraction." "I am good at being distracting," Marcus said with a slight smile. They split up. Crayon climbed silently to the catwalk above. Marcus waited until he saw her signal, then took a deep breath and walked straight through the main door into the observation deck. "Hello," he called out cheerfully. "I am looking for the tourist information desk. Is this it?" Every pirate spun toward him, weapons raising. The leader laughed, a harsh grating sound. "Another one. The station keeps giving us gifts." The leader aimed his rifle at Marcus. "Get over with the others, little human." Marcus walked slowly toward the group of diplomats, his hands up. As he moved, he angled himself so all the pirates had to turn to watch him. Their backs were now to Kraon's position. "You know," Marcus said conversationally, "I read that piracy does not pay very well. Lots of risk, not much reward. Have you considered other careers?" The pirate leader found this hilarious. "You are a funny one. I will kill you last." "How kind," Marcus said. He was almost to the center of the room now. Above, he saw Crayon's hand on the manual release lever. "Though I should warn you, I did not come alone." "Where is your backup, funny human? More cowards like these?" The leader gestured at the trembling diplomats. "No," Marcus said. "I brought someone better." Craon pulled the emergency release. The massive observation windows split apart with a hiss. The emergency shield started to deploy, but for 3 seconds, the room was exposed to vacuum. Everything not bolted down was pulled toward the opening. Papers, data pads, loose equipment, and most importantly, the pirates flew backward. Marcus had braced himself against a support pillar. The diplomats, in the center of the room, were somewhat protected. But the pirates, standing near the edges, were yanked off their feet. The emergency shields slammed into place, sealing the room again. The pirates crashed to the floor, disoriented and scattered. Cryon dropped from the catwalk onto the pirate leader's back. Her weight and momentum drove him to the ground. Before the others could react, she was moving, a blur of controlled violence. Marcus grabbed a dropped weapon and fired at the nearest pirate, hitting him in the leg. The pirate went down screaming. Cryon moved like a force of nature. She did not waste energy or motion. Every strike was precise and devastating. One pirate tried to shoot her, but she was already moving too fast. She grabbed his weapon and crushed it in her hands, then knocked him unconscious with a single punch. The other pirates tried to regroup, but Marcus kept them off balance with covering fire. He was not a trained soldier, but he understood tactics. He understood angles and timing. Within 2 minutes, all 5 pirates were down. 3 unconscious, 2 injured, but no longer fighting. The diplomats stared in shock. Lady Shivara's perfect hair was a mess. Prince Torvan had dirt on his expensive robes. Ambassador Velkor's mouth hung open. "Everyone all right?" Marcus asked, lowering his weapon. Slowly, the diplomats nodded. One of them, a young Pixari, started crying with relief. Kron checked each pirate, making sure they were secured. Then she activated one of their communicators. "All units, fall back to the ship," she said in a deep, commanding voice, imitating the pirate leader. "Station defense is stronger than expected. Retreat immediately." Through the communicator, they heard confused acknowledgments. The other pirates throughout the station started withdrawing. Marcus contacted their shuttle. "Kiv, we have the diplomats. Bring the shuttle to level 12 docking port and call for backup. We have prisoners." "Already done," Kiv's excited voice came back. "The rescue ship is 1 hour away. You did it." Marcus looked at Kron. She looked back at him. Neither smiled, but there was understanding between them. They had done it together. The rescue ship arrived exactly 53 minutes after Kron's fake retreat order. By then, Marcus and Kron had secured all the pirates they could find and helped organize the frightened diplomats. Station security forces, who had been hiding during the attack, suddenly reappeared and tried to take credit. Marcus did not bother arguing with them. The trip back to the Grand Imperial Station took longer than the trip out. The rescue ship was big and slow, designed for comfort rather than speed. The rescued diplomats huddled together in the main cabin, still shaken. Some had minor injuries. All had damaged pride. Lady Shivara sat alone, her perfect appearance completely ruined. Her silver skin had smudges of dirt. Her elegant clothes were torn. She stared out a window and said nothing. Prince Torvan had a bandage on his arm where he had been hit by debris. He kept touching it and wincing. Ambassador Velkor sat in a corner, also silent. He had not said a single word since the rescue. Marcus and Kron stayed near the back of the cabin. They were both exhausted. Kron had a bruise on her shoulder where a pirate had managed to land a hit with a metal rod. Marcus's hands shook slightly from adrenaline crash. "You were very brave," Crayon said quietly. "I mostly just created distractions," Marcus replied. "You did the real fighting." "Strategy is as important as strength," Crayon said. "My people forgot that lesson. We thought being strong was enough. Then we lost our war." A small Pixari diplomat approached them nervously. His name was Pip, Marcus remembered. He was very young, on his first diplomatic assignment. "Excuse me," Pip said in a high, squeaky voice. "I wanted to thank you. You saved my life." "We saved everyone," Marcus said. "That was the goal." "But you did not have to come," Pip insisted. "You volunteered. You risked your lives for us, even though—" He stopped, looking embarrassed. "Even though they all mocked us?" Kraan finished. Pip nodded, his large eyes sad. "I never mocked you, but I never defended you either. I am sorry for that." "Apology accepted," Marcus said. "Fear makes people quiet. We understand." After Pip left, several other diplomats approached one by one. They offered thanks, some more sincere than others. Lady Shivara eventually came over as well. I was wrong about you, she said stiffly. Both of you. I judged too quickly. Yes, you did, Kra'an said flatly. I am trying to apologize, Lady Shivara said, a bit of her old pride returning. We know, Marcus said more gently, and we accept. But understand, we did not save you to earn apologies. We saved you because it was right. Lady Shivara nodded slowly and walked away. Ambassador Velcor did not approach. He stayed in his corner, occasionally glancing at them, then looking away. When they finally arrived at the Grand Imperial Station, military officers were waiting. They asked many questions. They reviewed the combat footage from Marcus and Kra'an's suit cameras. They examined the captured pirates. The station commander who had sent them on the mission personally thanked them. You showed great courage. The Empire is in your debt. Just doing what needed to be done, Marcus said. Then came a message that surprised them both. Marcus Chen of Earth and Kra'an of Rockthar are summoned to appear before Her Imperial Majesty, Empress Zarakai, at the palace ship tomorrow at noon. The other diplomats who heard this announcement looked shocked. Meeting the Empress was extremely rare. Some diplomats served their entire careers without ever seeing her in person. Did we do something wrong? Marcus asked the messenger who brought the summons. The Empress does not explain her reasons to messengers, the messenger said. But you are commanded to appear. Formal dress is required. That evening, in their quarters, Marcus and Kra'an tried to prepare. Marcus had a formal human suit. Kra'an had nothing appropriate. Her people did not make fancy clothes in her size. I will wear my cleanest work clothes, she said. That is all I have. That will have to do, Marcus agreed. I think the Empress will understand. Neither of them slept well that night. Meeting the ruler of the entire Galactic Empire was terrifying, especially when you did not know why you had been summoned. The next day, they traveled by official transport to the palace ship. It was not actually a ship, but a massive structure in space, bigger than most cities. It gleamed with gold and silver, covered in artistic designs. Inside, servants guided them through halls that seemed to go on forever. Every surface was expensive and beautiful. Marcus felt completely out of place. Kra'an walked with her head high, but her jaw was tight with tension. Finally, they reached the throne room. It was enormous, with a ceiling that looked like it held actual stars. The floor was smooth crystal. At the far end, raised on a platform, was the throne. And sitting on the throne, covered in elegant veils of shimmering fabric, was the Empress. They could not see her face or body clearly through the veils. Only her eyes were visible, dark and intelligent. 2 royal guards stood on either side of the throne, completely still. Marcus Chen of Earth, Kra'an of Rockthar. Approach, a voice commanded. It came from everywhere and nowhere, amplified by hidden speakers. They walked forward and stopped at the base of the platform. Marcus was not sure if he should bow or kneel. He settled for a respectful nod. Kra'an did the same. You both showed great courage at Colony Station Theta 9, the Empress said. Her voice was surprisingly young-sounding. You saved the lives of 15 diplomats. Thank you, Your Majesty, Marcus said. We did what anyone should do. But others did not do it, the Empress pointed out. Only you 2 volunteered. Why? Marcus thought carefully before answering. Because we could help. Because it was right. Because those people needed someone, even if they did not respect us. And you, Kra'an of Rockthar. You are not a soldier. You are a scholar. Why did you fight? Kra'an's voice was steady. My people are taught to fight from childhood. But we are also taught honor. Those diplomats looked down on me, yes, but they did not deserve to die. Honor demanded action. The Empress was quiet for a long moment. Then she stood up from her throne, The guards stiffened, but did not move. "I must tell you something," the Empress said. "The selection ceremony where you met was not what it appeared to be." Marcus and Cryon exchanged confused looks. "Every year I watch the selection ceremony," the Empress continued. "Every year I am disappointed. The diplomats choose based on appearance, on status, on what benefits them politically. Nobody chooses based on character or worth." She descended the steps of the platform slowly. "I have been searching for years for someone different. Someone who sees value where others see only surface. Someone who judges fairly." The Empress stopped in front of them. "Marcus Chen, when you chose Kra'an, when you walked past all the beautiful, elegant options to choose someone judged as lesser, you gave me hope." Then the Empress reached up and removed her veils. Marcus and Crayon both gasped. The Empress was young, perhaps 30 in Earth years, but most striking was her appearance. Her skin was smooth on one side of her face, pale gold and delicate, but the other side of her face had gray, rough skin. Rockthar skin. Her eyes were different colors. Her build was mixed, both slender and strong. "My mother was Rockthar," the Empress said quietly. "My father was a Silvari noble. Their marriage was a scandal. When my father died and I became Empress, the Council of Lords told me to hide my mother's heritage. They said the Empire would never accept a half-Rockthar ruler." She looked directly at Kra'an. "So I have ruled from behind veils for 10 years. I have hidden half of who I am. I have allowed my mother's people to be treated as servants and laborers, too afraid to fight for them." Tears ran down the Empress's face, down both the smooth side and the rough side. "And then I watched a human, new to the galaxy, show more courage than I have shown in a decade. He chose honor over acceptance. He chose worth over appearance." The Empress turned to Marcus. "And you did it so naturally, so simply, like it was the obvious choice, like there was no other choice." "There was not," Marcus said softly. "Kra'an was the best choice. Anyone who actually looked could see that." The Empress smiled, a beautiful, sad smile. "Yes, but nobody looks. Nobody except you." She stepped back and stood straight, her mixed heritage fully visible. "I summoned you here not to punish you, but to thank you. You reminded me what courage looks like, what real honor looks like." "Your Majesty," Kra'an said, her voice shaking. "You are Rockthar." "Half," the Empress said. "My mother was a warrior named Krasin. She died protecting my father during an assassination attempt. The Silvari historians barely mention her name." "Krasin the Brave," Kra'an whispered. "She is a legend among my people. They said she married into nobility, but we never knew. We never knew her daughter became Empress." "Because I hid it," the Empress said. "I was ashamed, but I am done hiding." She raised her voice, and it echoed through the throne room. "Guards, summon the Council of Lords. Summon all the ambassadors. I have an announcement to make." Within 2 hours, the throne room was filled with people. The Council of Lords stood in their formal robes, looking confused and worried. Ambassadors from dozens of species crowded the space. Guards lined the walls. Marcus and Cryon stood to the side, not sure what was happening, but knowing it was important. The rescued diplomats from Theta 9 were there too. Lady Shavara, Prince Torvan, Ambassador Velcor, young Pip, and all the others. They whispered among themselves, wondering why they had been summoned so urgently. The Empress stood before her throne, her veils removed. Everyone could see her mixed heritage clearly. The crowd murmured in shock. Lord Zekthar, the head of the Council of Lords, stepped forward. He was old, with deep blue skin and elaborate robes. His face showed anger barely controlled. "Your Majesty," he said stiffly, "you appear without your formal vestments." "This is highly irregular." "I appear as I truly am," the Empress replied calmly. Something I should have done years ago. Your Majesty, please reconsider, another lord pleaded. The people are not ready to see— To see what? The Empress interrupted. To see that their ruler is half Rockthar? To know that I carry the blood of both warriors and artists? That I am the child of a love that crossed species boundaries? The throne room went completely silent. The Empress continued, her voice strong and clear. For 10 years, you convinced me to hide. You said the Empire would fall apart if they knew the truth. You said the people would reject me. But I have been watching, and I have learned something. She gestured to Marcus and Crayan. These two showed me what I had forgotten. Courage is not about hiding who you are. Honor is not about maintaining comfortable lies. True strength is standing for what is right, even when everyone else laughs at you. Marcus felt every eye in the room turn to look at him and Kron. He fought the urge to step backward. At the selection ceremony, the Empress said, I watched as every diplomat chose partners based on appearance and status. Beautiful choices, politically safe choices, meaningless choices. She walked down from her platform, moving through the crowd. People stepped back to let her pass. Then Marcus Chen of Earth did something different. He walked past all the elegant options. He chose Cryon of Rockthar, who stood in the back, who was mocked, who was judged as lesser. The Empress stopped in front of Marcus and Cryon. And when pirates attacked Colony Station Theta 9, when our diplomats were in danger, these two volunteered, not for glory, not for reward, because it was right. She turned to face the crowd. They saved 15 lives that day, including Ambassador Velcor, who had mocked them, including Lady Shivara, who had insulted them. They saved people who had treated them with contempt and disrespect. Ambassador Velcor's face turned a darker shade of blue. He stared at the floor. That is true honor, the Empress declared. That is the standard we should hold ourselves to. Lord Zekthar stepped forward again, his voice urgent and quiet. Your Majesty, please, this is not the time. This is exactly the time. The Empress's voice rang out. I have been silent for too long. The Rockthar people have been oppressed for 300 years. They are treated as servants and laborers despite their intelligence and capabilities. This ends now. She raised her hand and a holographic document appeared in the air above her. I am issuing the Edict of Species Equality. Effective immediately, all species within the Empire are granted equal status. No species shall be restricted from any profession or position based solely on their heritage. The Council of Lords erupted in protests. Your Majesty, this is too sudden. The economic impacts, the traditional structures, are unjust, the Empress finished, and injustice does not become acceptable simply because it is old. She looked at Kron. Kron of Rockthar, you graduated with highest honors from Imperial University in Philosophy and Galactic History. You have shown courage and wisdom. I hereby appoint you as the first Rockthar ambassador to the Imperial Court. Kron's eyes widened. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Finally, she managed, Your Majesty, I do not know what to say. Say you accept, the Empress said with a slight smile. I accept, Crayon said, her voice stronger now. I accept with all my honor. The Empress turned to Marcus. Marcus Chen of Earth, you have shown this empire what it means to judge by character rather than appearance. You have reminded us of values we had forgotten. I appoint you as Special Envoy for Species Equality. Your mission will be to help other marginalized species find their voice in our society. Marcus bowed. I am honored, Your Majesty. I accept. Your Majesty, Lord Zekthar protested. These appointments require council approval. No, the Empress said firmly. The Empress may make direct appointments in matters of imperial importance. Check the laws. You wrote them yourselves to give me emergency powers. I am using those powers now. The lords grumbled but could not argue. The law was clear. The Empress raised her voice again, addressing the entire assembly. Let it be known throughout the Empire. I am Zarakai, daughter of Lord Velshine of the Silvari and Krasin the Brave of the Rokthar. I am both. I am neither. I am myself, and I will no longer hide. She turned to the crowd. If anyone finds this unacceptable, if anyone believes a half-Rokthar cannot rule, you may challenge my authority in the traditional way. Single combat, myself against any champion you choose. The throne room went dead silent. Everyone knew the Empress had been trained by her Rokthar mother. Everyone knew what Krasin had been capable of. Nobody was eager to fight her daughter. Lord Zekthar bowed his head in defeat. No challenge will be made, Your Majesty. You are our Empress, whatever your heritage. Good, the Empress said. Then let us move forward together. She walked back to her throne, but did not sit. Instead, she stood before it, visible to all. I know change is difficult. I know this will cause disruption. But I also know it is necessary. We cannot claim to be a great empire while we oppress entire species. We cannot speak of honor while we practice prejudice. Young Pip, the Pixari diplomat, suddenly stepped forward. Your Majesty, I support this edict. My people are small, and we are often treated like children or pets. This gives us hope. One by one, other diplomats from smaller species stepped forward to voice their support. Not all, but enough. A movement was beginning. Lady Shivara was one of the last to speak. She approached the Empress and bowed deeply. Your Majesty, I have been foolish and blind. I judged by appearance and status because it was easy. But these past days have shown me the cost of such thinking. I was saved by those I mocked. I support the edict and I ask forgiveness for my past behavior. The Empress nodded. Forgiveness is earned through changed behavior, not just words. But I accept your commitment to change. Ambassador Velkor finally stepped forward as well. He looked like he had aged 10 years in the past few days. He did not speak to the Empress. Instead, he turned to Marcus and Kron. I was wrong, he said simply. I mocked you. I insulted you. Then you saved my life. I have no excuse and deserve no forgiveness, but I offer my apology anyway, knowing it is inadequate. Marcus looked at Crayan. She looked back at him. They had discussed this possibility during their sleepless night. We forgive you, Marcus said. Not because you deserve it, but because holding on to anger serves no purpose. Learn from this. Do better. Velkor bowed deeply and stepped back into the crowd. The Empress smiled. This is what I wanted to see. Growth, change, hope. She raised her hand. This assembly is concluded. The Edict of Species Equality will be published throughout the Empire within the day. May we all rise to meet this challenge. As the crowd began to disperse, talking excitedly among themselves, the Empress gestured for Marcus and Crayon to follow her to a private chamber behind the throne room. Once they were alone, the Empress's formal manner relaxed slightly. Thank you, she said. I know I put you in a difficult position. You gave us honor we did not expect, Crayon said. The honor should go to you, for your courage. I was only able to be courageous because you showed me it was possible, the Empress replied. She touched her rough, gray skin self-consciously. For 10 years, I hated this part of myself. I saw it as a weakness, something to hide. But watching you stand proud despite mockery, I realized the weakness was not in my heritage, it was in my shame. Your mother would be proud, Kraan said softly. I hope so, the Empress said. Now about your new positions. They are not ceremonial. I need you both to actually work. We understand, Marcus said. What do you need us to do? Go to the Rokthar homeworld, the Empress said. Meet with the clans. Tell them what has happened. Help them understand they have a voice now, and then... She paused. Help me bring that voice to other species who have been silenced. Over the next few weeks, news of the Empress's revelation and the Species Equality Edict spread across the Empire. Reactions were mixed. Some species celebrated, others resisted. But the change had begun, and there was no stopping it. Marcus and Kron traveled to the Rokthar homeworld, a planet of mountains and forests. Kron's family met them at the spaceport. Her parents were old and strong, her siblings numerous and loud. They wept when they saw her new title and position. They wept more when she told them about the Empress. Krasin's daughter rules the Empire, Kron's father said, his voice full of wonder. The stories were true. They held a gathering of the clans. Thousands of Rokthar came to hear Marcus and Kron speak. Marcus told them about Earth's struggles with prejudice and how they had overcome it. Kron told them about their heritage as warriors and poets, reminding them of who they had been. "We are not just strong backs," Kron declared to the crowd. "We are philosophers, artists, leaders. It is time to remember that." The crowd roared its approval. Young Rokthar looked at Kron with hope in their eyes. Old Rokthar stood straighter, remembering their pride. From the Rokthar homeworld, Marcus and Kron traveled to other worlds. They met with the Pixari, who shared stories of being treated as children. They visited the Grix, whose appearance frightened others despite their gentle nature. They spoke with the Sken, whose telepathy made others distrust them. Everywhere they went, they spread the same message. You have worth. You have voice. You deserve respect. 6 months after the selection ceremony, Marcus and Kron returned to the Grand Imperial Station. The changes were visible everywhere. Rokthar worked in offices, not just as laborers. Pixari spoke in council meetings. Species that had been invisible were now seen. It was not perfect. Prejudice does not disappear overnight, but it was better. It was a beginning. One evening, Marcus and Kron sat together in their quarters looking out at the stars. "Do you ever regret it?" Kron asked. "You could have chosen someone prestigious. You could have had an easy path." Marcus smiled. "You know what you asked me once? Why I really chose you?" "Yes. You said something about heavy burdens and dignity." "That was part of it," Marcus agreed. "But there was something else. When I saw you standing there, not expecting anything, not begging for attention, just existing with quiet strength, I thought, that is someone I want to know. That is someone worth learning from." He looked at her. "I chose you because you were the best choice. And I was right." Kraan was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "On Earth, do humans have a concept of family not by blood, but by choice?" "We do. We call them chosen family." "Then you are my chosen family, Marcus Chen," Kraan said, "not because we were partnered by ceremony, but because you saw me when others looked past me. Because you stood beside me when others laughed. Because you chose me." "And you are mine," Marcus replied. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Two people from different worlds, different species, different backgrounds, but family nonetheless. In the palace ship, the Empress also looked at the stars. She thought about her mother, who had died protecting what she loved. She thought about courage and change and hope. She had stopped hiding. The veils were gone. She was herself, fully and completely. And it had all started because one human chose kindness over status, character over appearance, and truth over comfort. Sometimes, she thought, the smallest choices create the biggest changes. Sometimes courage is as simple as seeing someone truly and choosing them anyway. The galaxy would never be the same, and that, she decided, was exactly as it should be. The end.